Dispelling myths on the QR code. The QR code has become ubiquitous in our world. It has become very common and has been introduced, it's been presented to us as a wonderful thing holding all kinds of information. But the QR code is gibberish. We look at it and we see it as gibberish. The QR code, unfortunately, and how it is being presented is being used to gain acceptance, to bring in some things that, in my personal view, are not in our best interests. It dehumanizes us, it gives a power to others, and unless we subscribe and abide by, it will take over. In fact, the QR code is nothing but the UR code in waiting. If we allow that to continue, the time will come where you will not be known by your name, where you, when you work someplace and have your name on your name tag, and a customer comes in and says, "Hi John, hi Jane," they will not have that. They will have a QR code. You're in essence gibberish. I had felt that that is a future potential, an undesired one, of course, until a few months after this insight of mine, I saw some young children, 6, 7-year-olds, in China. They were standing in line, larger school, lots of kids, standing in line for attendance to be taken. We all stood in line for attendance to be taken, and we simply used to raise our hand when our name was called. In this case, those young kids were wearing a face mask. They were instructed to not speak, and they had a sign around their neck, on their chest, that had a distinct QR code for each one. In fact, the teacher or some school official would come to that child, scan the code, and they would know exactly what they needed, who that kid was, and of course, count the presence or attendance. But that child no longer had a name, was not allowed to speak, and was muzzled. That is the future. It is already here. It isn't for your convenience. It is not. And some will say that's the way of the future. Is that the future that we want for ourselves? Is that the future that we want for ourselves when we go to a telecom company store to return some equipment, and instead of standing in line waiting your turn and being called when your turn is up, you're told you must download the app onto your telephone and scan a QR code and then fill in your name. And you will be scanned. You will be called when that comes up in the computer. What happens to those who don't have a phone, who can't figure that out, or do not wish to download that app? We were treated like second-class citizens. There were 2 other customers there at that moment, and I told them, you don't have to do that. I told those 2, they were there in front of me, they go first. I walked up to the staff and said, no. Sign in, call the next person. I got pushback. It is the way of the future, they said. And all of us who did not scan our QR code had to wait our turn, as in last, when everybody else who clearly came in after was treated first because he obediently complied with what the telecom company said you must do. Those QR codes are also tags. You can be tracked and traced forever. It is not for your good. It is no good. A choice for each and every one of us. With the QR code as an example. Are we going to obey and comply to some corporation that wants to come up with gibberish, where we are actually gibberish to them? Do we want to be subject to the whims of the AI How many times do we make calls to reach some company to take care of some business? And we know that we have to reach the human. But that AI can neither help us, nor understand what we're doing, nor offers the ability to connect to that human. How often do we pull our hair out and are frustrated because of that AI who's incapable of handling the basic functions and doesn't give us a simple press this button for a human and that function for billing and that function for tech and that function for whatever. The way it used to be, it was simple, it was easy, the phone transferred it, and things began to happen. And when we finally get to reach the human, we're frustrated. And often we take out our frustration onto that innocent human at the other end of a phone line who must deal with our frustration and our venting when that person does not deserve. It was time, it was energy, it was effort. Everybody ends up upset. It is not necessary. It is not and doesn't have to be the wave of the future, because a few people on high tell us that that is what it is. It should be, it must be, obey, comply, resistance is futile, welcome to Borg. We still have the opportunity to say, I human, not I AI or I, which in Quechua, the Inca language, means painful and pain. Do we want to stand in our power and say, I'm willing to stand and wait for my turn in line and be called when it is my turn and speak directly to that human? Or do we want to play the game of the AI, where the AI becomes our God, our boss, our arbiter of our fate, and the commander of our destiny, and tells us what we can and cannot do, and impinges and prohibits, and does all kinds of things? And who are we then? Gibberish. It is for us to decide. Do we matter? Who am I? Who are we? Am I Joe? Am I Jane? Or am I gibberish? What will our future be? It is up to us.